Welcome back to Rockin' Wrestling Radio Show with your host Nicholas Cross here in sunny Chicago, Illinois. And we've been talking over the past few days about the rumors of CM Punk leaving professional wrestling once and for all. And, of course, there is a confirmation this past Wednesday on the Ross Report at Podcast One. Jim Ross, of course, talked to Jim Cornette, and they spoke very openly about the leaving of CM Punk. And, of course, yours truly has a backstage informant who snitched a little bit of information to me about the fact that CM Punk will no longer be with WWE. I'm not going to name her name. I'll just simply let it be known that it is a woman, and she is gorgeous. Nevertheless, I want to talk to you about the implications of losing CM Punk to who knows what. And there are some major implications. Whether you are an Anaconda Vice fan, a Go to Sleep fan, or Mutton Chops Wolverine fan, you are a CM Punk fan. Anybody who likes wrestling likes CM Punk. You like the eloquence of the mic work. You like the eloquence of the ring work. You like the carrying of oneself that he displays and portrays. And, of course, this is CM Punk we're talking about. This is the man who set the independent wrestling world on fire and laid bridges and patchworks for all kinds of young guys to come up behind him. This is actually one of the guys who started the transitioning period into WWE, where it was accepted for a much smaller guy. And when I say much smaller, I mean even smaller than Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. A much smaller guy to carry the reins, if you will, of the WWE Heavyweight Championship. And, of course, CM Punk did a lot more than that. CM Punk was one of those guys who kind of had that Stone Cold genre, but at the same time had a different workability altogether. So he blazed his own trail, so to speak, and it's kind of a devastating day for anybody who's in the business of professional wrestling to lose CM Punk, or is it? And the reason I ask, or is it, is because with CM Punk gone, is there not room for more people? With CM Punk gone, is there not room for CM Punk to possibly go somewhere else to help that organization grow into the thing that it needs to be? With CM Punk gone, what are the implications that could possibly be put out in the atmosphere of professional wrestling? Let's talk about this really quickly. I want you to look at NWA TNA, total nonstop action. Of course, I don't think we're supposed to call it NWA anymore. Nevertheless, these people over here, the Carter family, have got a true dynamic going on, but they have no chemistry in their dynamic. One question that was asked to me via Twitter is, would CM Punk be a good fit in TNA? And the answer that I think is absolutely not. CM Punk kind of plays to his own fiddle, if you will. So TNA is not a good fit for him because TNA is kind of, it gives the impression that there's some power-hungry people running the show over there. I think a lot of people think that WWE is that way, but of course WWE couldn't be anything further than that. In fact, WWE is pretty open to the workers' needs and their wants and blah, 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 blah. Well, TNA, to me, gives the impression of an old WCW. I don't think that CM Punk would have a good fit with an old WCW. However, for those of you who have been following the news, you know that Jeff Jarrett is supposedly out there in cahoots with country music star Toby Keith, and that big things are going on with Global Force Wrestling. That's right, Global Force Wrestling. And you might want to check my sources on that. It may be something else, maybe Global Power Wrestling or something like that. But nevertheless, if Jeff Jarrett is able to use Toby Keith money to get Global Force Wrestling off the ground, would CM Punk be a good fit with Jeff Jarrett? Now, let me say this, and I oftentimes talk about great wrestling minds, and in that list is Paul Heyman, Jim Cornette, Jim Ross, and these are all great, except Paul Heyman, free agents that would be a great addition to Jeff Jarrett's organization, but sometimes I skip Jeff Jarrett himself. Sometimes I leave out the fact that Jeff Jarrett, in and of himself, is a great creative mind in professional wrestling. Let's not forget, although his father has a bad reputation as being a wrestling promoter, he was actually a successful wrestling promoter. And even though Jeff Jarrett has a bad reputation of being a bad wrestling promoter, if you want to know the truth, TNA is the second largest wrestling organization in the United States for a reason. And that's because Jeff Jarrett built it to that point. And that's a lot to say. No, they're not competing with WWE, but they do have that power. They are on network television, and there's people getting paid. Well, back to the premise here. Would CM Punk be a good fit with Jeff Jarrett and Global Force Wrestling? And I got to be honest with you. I feel as though he would. And the reason that I feel that way is because Jeff Jarrett has that creative mind. He has that creative counsel in his own mind. Kind of like that angel and demon sitting on your shoulder concept, the construct of the one voice in the left ear and the one voice in the right ear, and they're speaking and arguing. Well, Jeff Jarrett has that interesting dynamic in and of himself and the ability to just create this beautiful cacophony of things and bring it out into this beautiful display or portrayal of a show. And that's what I think Jeff Jarrett is. Well, you add Jeff Jarrett's creative ability, and it may be an innate ability, I don't know, but then you take CM Punk, who is a great wrestler. He's a great performer. He's a great entertainer. He understands the business of professional wrestling, bar none. Well, you take CM Punk and you take Jeff Jarrett and you put these two together, there's going to be maybe some chemistry, maybe some headbutting, I don't know, but there is something that's going to come from that. And it's going to be dunamis. It's dynamite. It's going to explode. It's going to be outstanding. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to see. I don't think that CM Punk had any preconceived notion that he was going to go talk to Jeff Jarrett, and I'm not even saying that CM Punk has talked to Jeff Jarrett. As a matter of fact, it could be that I'm just speculating here, but I'm going to be honest. I don't think that CM Punk is done with wrestling. I think CM Punk is done with WWE, and I think the reason that CM Punk finished, or walked away rather, from WWE is because he had a notion. And to be honest, CM Punk wasn't right about his notion. Now, I'm sure that these guys in the locker room, as I've been informed numbers of times, know exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen, and they got the idea down the road. But CM Punk somehow got lost in something, I feel, and he thought that he was being held back. To me, had CM Punk just held on a little bit harder and a little bit longer, there may be a CM Punk-Daniel Bryan dynamic that's taking place right now instead of a Daniel Bryan-Kane dynamic for this Extreme Rules pay-per-view that I think is utterly, amazingly ridiculous. Kane and corporate Kane was doing just fine. Let's not put him back under the mask or the wig. Nevertheless, if you watch right before CM Punk departed, he and Daniel Bryan had been tag teaming quite a few times, and it was an interesting dynamic that they had in that they were practically about the same size. I guess Punk was a little bit taller, maybe a few pounds heavier. But nevertheless, they were about the same size, about the same wrestling style, about the same wrestling ability, about the same quality, and I really felt as though we were going to see a backstab. I felt as though that we were going to see whichever one WWE wanted to push as the heel to turn against whichever one WWE wanted to push as the baby. And I'd always assumed that it would be CM Punk. As a matter of fact, leading into WrestleMania, if you watch the Stone Cold, or you listen to the Stone Cold podcast over on Podcast 1, Steve Austin was talking about prior to WrestleMania that he believed, and you know, this guy, for him to say something about wrestling, you kind of got to listen. He's been everywhere and done everything. Well, he said over on his podcast, on Podcast 1, go check that out, by the way, when you get an opportunity. As a matter of fact, we'll leave a link on the page here. But he said in his podcast that he felt as though WrestleMania would be the time that CM Punk would return. And, you know, when he said that, I went bananas on my little local radio thing, and I said, you know what, I agree with this guy completely, because CM Punk WrestleMania, that would have been the perfect return, and I actually thought it was going to happen sometime during the Triple H match. Well, then you have the Triple H match stipulation where whoever wins goes on to wrestle in the main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and that was an interesting nuance that they added there. So I was like, what in the world's going to happen now? So it had to be CM Punk is going to return in the main event and cost Daniel Bryan the World Heavyweight Championship, and that's going to feud for a little bit. CM Punk will end up taking the title from somebody, and it's going to be blah, 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 blah. Maybe we'll see Daniel Bryan's moment at WrestleMania 31. That's really what I thought was going to happen. It didn't happen that way, and I was surprised. Well, when CM Punk didn't make his return at WrestleMania 30, I knew for a fact that CM Punk would not be making his return to WWE, and it's unfortunate because I think that CM Punk really fits in with the guys that are there. I mean, you look at the characters that are involved in WWE right now. I want you just to look at the broad spectrum, and then we're going to get back to Jeff Jarrett. I want you to look at Bray Wyatt. I want you to think about these guys, the Shield. Now, these four people that I just talked about here at Shield, which are, you know, the three-man team there, some of the greatest talent that you've ever seen. What about Roman Reigns? Unbelievable. We'll get into Shield later. Well, you got Bray Wyatt and you got the Shield. These four guys, and their dynamic are amazing. Of course, you know, you can't take anything away from Luke Harper or Eric Rowan. These guys are beasts. They remind me of the early inception of the Road Warriors or the Legion of Doom with Paul Ellering, however you want to call it. Nevertheless, CM Punk just seems like he fits right in the middle of that. You remember way back, WWE used to do the USA thing, the characters welcome. Well, this is This is no different for me. I feel exactly as if this is a time when they should be promoting the characters welcome. You've got Daniel Bryan, the GOAT. You've got the Wyatts and all their craziness. You've got the Shield and their craziness. Now you've got the Evolution who has returned. And CM Punk just really fits in there. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to see that again. Well, what we may see, however, is CM Punk over at Global Force Wrestling. With that said, there is no contractual agreement between Sting and WWE. I have confirmed that. As a matter of fact, yesterday morning I spoke with someone. It was a confirmation. Once again, I can't release her name, but I can tell you that it was a confirmation. There is no contract between WWE and Sting. With that said, could you imagine if Sting were to go over with Jeff Jarrett and the creative juices that Sting has? Of course, he's one of the most respected individuals in the entire business of professional wrestling. Well, he goes over with Jeff Jarrett, and let's just throw another little few things in here. Let's say that Kurt Angle gets tired of the TNA melodrama, and he jumps over with Jeff Jarrett. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's say that Jeff Hardy takes some time, and he goes over there. And let's just add one more name to this mix here. What if AJ Styles were to head over there to Global Force Wrestling, and then you throw CM Punk in the mix with all of these guys? Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is a talent pool that cannot be questioned, and with the correct creativity, this is a talent pool that will blow your mind. I'm kind of excited over the thought of all of this. Of course, it's just speculation, and in a few months we may be putting together the fantasy wrestling page of the rockinwrestling.com website, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but if it does happen, this very well may be what you see there. But the bottom line is this: just think of all of the implications that are flowing freely now that CM Punk is a free agent. Just think about what could happen. I mean, even if he did go to TNA, it's a good addition for CM Punk to go to TNA, and it would do TNA some good to have that depth to their talent. I'm kind of excited to see what happens. Now, on the flip side, let's just say that CM Punk came back to WWE. Let's just assume that somewhere along the lines, no offense, Mr. CM Punk, the coach, but let's just say that you grew a brain, and let's just say that you decided that you were going to come back where you're home, where there's thousands of screaming individuals every single night yelling your name, who want to see you, who love you. Let's just say that you took the chance and you rode back to Greenwich, Connecticut, and you shook Vince McMahon's hand and you got back in the thing, and the next thing you know, we were on Raw again. Do you know what you would do? You would have to pay a price, but then you would be the World Heavyweight Champion. I want you to understand, CM Punk, you have the talent and you have the quality to be the top guy at any show, and WWE was not ignoring that, and I don't think anybody else will. So, all in favor of CM Punk joining Jeff Jarrett, say aye. All in favor of CM Punk going to TNA, say aye. And all in favor of CM Punk returning to WWE, say aye. And then I'm going to let this one little thing down here on the bottom, right underneath those threes, I'm going to let you guys give an opinion. If you want CM Punk to go to UFC, say aye. I don't think that's my vote, but nevertheless, I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to check in with us later on at rockinwrestling.com for more information on the CM Punk mystery and all of the drama that's going along with it. Check us out some more as we look at the Heyman Hustle tomorrow and maybe even get to talk to Natalia Neidhart. You guys have a good night.